Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Zed. Today I'm going to be talking about RMED, RA Medical Systems, based on requests on Twitter. Make sure you drop a like on this video to help the channel grow. Subscribe and leave your notifications on to get the best data news that I share every day. And share the video at the very end if you like it. Now, without further ado, I'm going to be going through technical analysis, then news, and then how I'm playing this stock. So gonna look here into the 1 month, 1 day intervals, the technical analysis. This stock had received an offering around $0.35 dollars per share, ending starting in today and ending in on Monday. And as well, what's happening here is that it got halted midday. I believe I'll go in a second when we're looking into 1 hour interval, and it basically from 9 to 12 it was halted, and then after that, with the offering news, it unfroze. So the MACD here has gone negative due to an offering. The moving averages look a little bit rough. The 30 EMA is above the 10 SMA, but it has been for quite a while, I believe, ever since early on January. The 50 SMA is closer to the price. It's not far off, but the 50 SMA and the 200 SMA is above the price of the stock. Now here's the good news: is the stock is insanely oversold. It's found a new bottom, and the average directional index here seems to be hinting that there's a trend that could be possible. Volume is 6 times more than its average volume. Now going on towards the 1 hour intervals here, what we're going to get to see is that MACD is actually curving in upwards now, and that's a good sign for us, where it indicates that could be an end of this kind of negative trend, possibly either seeing in a jump later on tomorrow or early on Monday. What we get to see here is the average directional index as well, suggests that there is a possibility of a trend forming. Now, the stock price would probably be reaching the trading action zone sometime soon, where reversals are very likely. It did cross just momentarily its 50 SMA, sitting in around 0.36 today, so it's not far off from there, so that's a good sign. Going in towards still oversold. Momentum here seems to be still low. That's of course due to an offering, but it could be actually still picking up sometime later on. We need to relook into the extended market. The unbalanced volume here looks like it's actually stable, and it's not actually bleeding as much as it did throughout the day. So that as well is a good news for me. Now moving on towards moving averages, what we get to see here is in the band. The stock price is under that band, so what I expected is for it to jump. That band is sitting in 0.45 to 0.37. Now I don't expect it to jump towards it, but a little bit closer nonetheless. Now moving on towards supports and resistances, using here the 1 month, 1 hour period, just to try to identify basically where the supports and resistances are based on Fibonacci retracements. And we get to see here we're sitting in a 0.28, so there is a Fibonacci resistance sitting in a 0.33. It seems to be as well, there was around a pivot point around 0.34. We're looking at as well another Fibonacci resistance sitting in a 0.35. After that is around 0.36 to 0.36 is the next resistance, sitting 0.37. Then following that 0.38, and then we're having a Fibonacci resistance at 0.39, hitting 0.40, and then it seems to be 0.42. So there is a upside. Now in terms of support, we're sitting in that support. There is a support of 0.29, and that's basically due to it being a bottom play. Now moving on towards company news and basically the offering news. So the latest news is the offering here, around $2 million off shares. Now just to oversimplify it here, I pulled up this one here. It's 0.35 per share, gross proceeds of around $12 million. It is expected to close on or about August 3rd, so it's going to be closing in on Monday. With warrants, with a share price of 0.35, 5 years expiry from issuance date. Now moving on, this one here is the same thing. Other news was basically more of a warning on that offering, so it did come out early on the 27th, and that's why it did receive that kind of downtrend ahead of time. And I believe all the way back to the 16th, they did mention as well in terms of the offering price coming in sometime soon. It wasn't filled in, but it seemed that they had the intention to do so. Moving on, let's take a quick look. This is one passive investment happening on the 29th, I believe, way back in May. So we're going to show you the current institutional buyers. So institutional owners here, quickly loading. We get to see that there is institutional buyings around happen on the 18th, on the 5th, and as well on June as well, 65,000 shares. Now I don't see sell-offs happening here, so that's still good news for me. Moving on, what we're going to be looking at is insider purchases. Even though it's actually been lagging a little bit off website sometimes as it being, there we go, insider trading. So as it looks here, I just want to say basically this company here has a bit of potential, especially with offering plays like that. I'm going to go with the presentation in a second. We can see purchases happen here very close to around point, this one is 0.6 cents per share for 50,000 shares. Happened as well just a little bit a few weeks before that, 0.474. So it seems that they do have as well interest in this, well, a strong belief in the stock it would be increasing. So what does the company actually work on? So they work on laser-based vascular and dermatology therapies, and basically they have two main things here. So the vascular is destruction of basically blockage by laser radiation ablation, and it has a 94% effectiveness based on their study. Seems like a solid product there. The next one is Pharos optimized generation of technologies with lasers. So basically what they do here is, from my understanding, is it basically works with I won't be attempting to pronounce that, but basically that's what I'm looking at, the different diseases that it actually does help tackle. So looks like a solid one here. Going in towards quickly balance sheets, what we get to look at is in terms of the balance sheets going in from March 31st, 2020 to December 2019, that there is actually an increase, or sorry, adjusted ETBA is lower in there in terms of the loss, so that's amazing. That's the 3 months ending, and what we're looking at here is quickly to assess the revenues. So quickly doing, actually I do have it on the other sheet here. So this is the 10K quickly. So with the 10K you get to see a bit of a quick insight in terms of their balance sheet growth year to year. That's coming in somewhere here. Their balance sheet is a little bit, well, sorry, I do have it as well on their website. They do have balance sheet section, so we're just going to go there quickly. Investor relations, and from there you get to look into financial information and balance sheets. All right, so what we're looking at here is a growth happening in potential growth. So quickly looking at total shareholder, there's a little bit of decrease there in shareholder equity, but we're looking at cash and cash equivalent increase there in terms of revenue. Well, sorry, total assets is a little bit less, but liabilities seems to be a little bit less as well. Take a quick look in terms of income statements. That's as well very important. Seems to be very much in terms of the same revenues, not a lot of growth there. Total cost of revenue is 620, so it's a little bit increasing there. Net loss seems to be around 7,000 compared to 14,000, so decrease there on loss from quarter to quarter. That's of course in thousands, right? Moving on, what we're gonna get to look at is the company's presentation. Basically the same thing I did mention about their two products. Now they were granted the FDA 510K clearance for the ones I was just showing here for the lasers. Clearance from Europe, CE mark in China, and Food Drug Administration. Reimbursed using established CPT codes for excimer laser treatments of inflammatory skin diseases. Moving on as well, so this was just more of their location. Intellectual properties, you see they are still holding a bunch of patents as well. They're all issued, so let's take a quick look into financial overview that they have it here. Adjusted EBITDA is 6,000 compared to 32,000. Interesting to see here, there's a bit of growth as it seems. Now, in terms of the recent highlights, they did have a previous offering back in May of 0.45 cents. They do have a new CEO and a new VP engineering, so there might be actually different growth there and a different movement. So that's been my DD on this one. So how am I going to play it? I am sitting very close to around 0.29 average in there. So what I expect for this stock is for it to probably see a little bit of an uptrend tomorrow, and the massive jump would probably be later on in the evening or perhaps even on Monday. So I've been in stocks where they had offerings somewhere closer to Thursdays, and then Fridays with the Friday sell-offs, people get a little bit scared, the price dips a little bit down, and then you have people on Monday that are chasing and foaming in. That's where probably I would sell probably sometime Monday early on morning. It is definitely a comfortable view for me here, especially holding in very close around 0.29, especially for considering people that bought the stock very close to the 0.50. And if you're looking at basically the previous offering price that it did actually reach before, it was around 0.65, and it did hold well before on an offering. So not very much scared about this one. What do you think about the sticker? Make sure you mention it down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like, and you have a wonderful day.